Welcome to the Unbothered Crohn's Podcast, episode 2, coming at you from Beverly, Massachusetts and Luxor, Egypt. And I will say, if you notice imperfections in this podcast, it could be a brownout in Luxor where it's 110 degrees, or it could be something funky in Beverly, Massachusetts where we've finally broken the spell of the heat wave. Thank you, God. So this week we're going to dive right into what we call the perfection trap. And one of the ways this like comes up for me, and Chris and I were talking about this, is kicking off this podcast in and of itself. So having had a podcast before that was highly produced. Thank you, Jay Foss, if you're out there. I saw that you became a subscriber. In a studio with all of the equipment, all of the bells and whistles, and with Jay at the helm controlling all of that, and then editing, post-production, and just making it really amazing. That experience for me trapped me in this perfection of, I don't know if I can do a podcast without all of that support. It'll just be Kristen and I.
Well, I love that as a jumping off point, Lisa, because it really, you know, it really encapsulates for me the unbotheredness of our like what we strive for in being unbothered. Um, I'm looking at that. We're on a Zoom call right now because of the issues I have with connectivity here in Luxor. I never know when the power is going to go out, when the internet's going to go out, how strong it is, how strong it's not, all of those things. And, you know, I don't have a studio here. I don't even have my decent microphone is in a storage unit in Beverly. So it's, I think what you're saying about having had that experience of having something done in a particular manner and now just being like, hey, you know what? I've got something to say and my voice deserves to be heard, whether I have all the accoutrement or not, and just going for it is both, it perfectly illustrates the perfection trap, but also really speaks to the unbothered frequency in which we strive to live our lives. So thank you very much for bringing that up because it really is. It's a pervasive element. I mean, I see it for me. It comes up in the perfection trap of having to have everything in place before something can go forward. And I was like that for a very long time with my spiritual mentoring business, where I couldn't launch because the website wasn't perfect. This wasn't perfect. I didn't have the offer sheet perfectly done. I didn't have all the deliverable formats perfectly done. So I was always in this cycle of almost trying to have an answer before I knew what the question was. And it just kept me spinning for a very long time. And, mind you, I also had a full-time job that kept me very busy. But being free of external constraints really called me forward into the question of what is it I'm offering, and am I willing to be seen in that offering, whether it's perfect or not. So here we are.
Well, and it's so pervasive. So we're going to talk about it from the entrepreneurial perspective in a moment, but even in my personal perspective. So I had been invited, and you know this story, Kristen, to go to an art class, like a local art class. Like, this is no big deal. And I did it, and it was super fun. It was very controlled. The teacher was wonderful, and it was just like a simple thing. And then I sort of got the bug, and then I started to try to make some art. And that's where it got all squirrely for me, because I was comparing what I was making to my friends in the class who are actual artists who were just taking the class for like just have fun and do a new medium and not produce anything to sell. But I'm looking at their work. I'm looking at my work. I almost don't want to do it anymore, which steals the joy out of why I did it in the first place, was to do something different. I don't usually make art in that way. And so I was going to rob myself of a really fun, community oriented get together because I'm over here looking at how imperfect my end product is and comparing it to the other people where we're all just getting together to have fun.
Yeah.
And so that's where the perfection trap really does trap you.
Yes. And I really I resonate with that. I can remember doing paint and sip nights and feeling just so completely inadequate because it's not that I don't have any creativity or artistic skills. It's just I'd never done it before. But the fear of how I would be perceived and that it just wasn't good enough. No matter what I did, it wouldn't be good enough. But the key that you just brought up that I think we really need to anchor in is that comparison is the greatest thief of joy. It is such a pervasive and insidious trap that, even taking a class, it's like obviously the person teaching it is an expert in their field or has some degree of skill and acumen in their field, and you're taking the class to learn. And yet still, there is an unrealistic and very unreasonable expectation that we put on ourselves to already be perfect at the thing we're trying to learn.
And no one in that room in my class was judging because everyone was there just to have fun
Oh,
and
yeah.
just to be in community. So it wasn't as if, oh, you went with a bunch of people that are kind of judgmental and snobbery around art. No, we were just
Yeah.
being. And so you get in your own head about it.
Yeah.
This also manifested for me with you specifically when I took your course, The Soul Awakening, because there was one piece of that where I had to draw something.
Yes.
And remember how I kept getting hung up and you were like, just draw it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm like, and I was almost like,
Yes. Yes. It's because we are our own worst enemy when it comes to self-criticism and self-judgment, right? And that I remember saying to him, like, I don't even want to see it. I don't even want to
I
look at
know.
what you're drawing. It's for you to express. And yet this really deep seated judgment that is always just a layer that's on top of other um, of other issues that are beneath it. Be that the old wounds of being laughed at for not being good enough or not being able to do what the other kids do, not being good at sports when everybody around you is great at sports. I grew up in a family where everyone is really mechanical and can fix things, and I'm just like useless. It's like, it's broken, someone come fix it because I'm not your girl. Like, but my
But the
gifts
not
are so different.
trying,
And
the
that,
not trying to enjoy,
yes,
let me try to fix that thing. Let me try that
yeah,
art thing. That's
yeah,
where it does become a bear trap and we
right,
get caught in it. The one good thing about taking your course, The Soul Awakening, which people can go to Kristen's website and look at the structure of that course over 6 weeks, I kept coming back to this art thing. And it was like maybe midpoint, I took one of these art classes and I made this abstract thing on a piece of paper and it could fold over and become like a greeting card. And I remember because of what we were doing in the class and really feeling more empowerment, I sent a check. I had to send a hard check out, which is very unusual today, to a vendor of mine. And I put the check in the card that I had made and I sent it. And like people are like, okay, yeah, why is this such a thing? Oh, it was a thing. We
It's a
talked about
huge
it during
thing.
our class.
It's a huge
To
thing.
send that out there in the world, as imperfect as it was, just as a like a piece of joy, so that the person opening that payment was like, oh well, what's this? That was like, that took a lot of courage for me.
Yes, that was a pivotal moment of a deeper reclamation of your voice and your willingness to speak the unvarnished truth, which is one of the elements of the course. And I'll pop a link to all of that stuff in this when we're done, so people will know where to find it. And thank you for the shout out. Um, but that act of being willing to be seen in the imperfection is really where the juice is, where the money is. You know, that being able to, one of my, when I did my health coach training, they would say, feel the fear and do it anyway. And it's true. It's like that moment when you set aside that judgment and just step into the essence of what it is you're doing, the essence of the creation, the joy of it. I think that's something that it's a huge piece of the work that I do, is joy as an act of defiance. And we've so lost connection with our joy because we are um, spending a little too much time worrying about how we look, what will people think, is it the right look? I mean, again, to go back to where we started this with this podcast, you know, you look on Instagram, you look on any of the social media platforms, and there's almost an expectation of this perfection of delivery that needs to happen before something can be, quote unquote, good enough. And part of what we're doing is just being like, you know what, we're just two ladies who have some stuff to say. So we're here and we're saying it because that's what matters. It doesn't matter if we have the right filter or the right lighting or a nice quiet studio area or any of the stuff. Like, in fact, like, we're just here talking for the creation of these words, for the messages that need to come through us, for the joy of it, for the joy of getting to spend, an hour a week with you real time. is
Hmm.
part of this. It's
Hmm.
very selfish on my part. Uh,
Kristen, I was doing some entrepreneur coaching last week, free, by the way, because this was just like a friend,
mhm.
an acquaintance,
We'll do an
actually.
episode on that later, but go ahead.
Um, and I'm in no way criticizing her or divulging anything that was kept in confidence, but this perfectionism is causing her to have a failure to launch.
Hmm. So
And
common.
she has a business, again, I'm not going to get into the specifics, but it's a very much needed. So this is not some obscure thing. And she's not trying to become an empire. She wants to help a few people start it off that way. So it's actually like an easy thing. But, her business coach is like, well, you have to have the website all done. You have to have the Instagram account. I'm like, you're a service. You're not anything visual. So Instagram is not even, why are you, no. So all these things that have to be perfected before she feels like she can really be ready.
Hmm.
Um, and yet she has this amazing service that people actually need.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's like, we talked about the imposter syndrome. And I said to this specific person, you've been doing this work for like almost 40 years,
Hmm.
working this work. Like, Why is it different now because you're going to be doing it as a solopreneur? Like, why? There's this something that gets activated for people when they have to go outside of the system and be an entrepreneur, and they have this great business, and I hate the word launch, but they're not going to launch till they have everything perfect. Perfect to what standard?
Yes.
And in the case of this particular female, as I said, she's been practicing this for like almost 40 years. I'm like, how many more credentials do you need? How many more times do you have to prove that you know this methodology? You've been doing it.
Yes.
You've been affiliated with a major university teaching it. Like, ugh. And it's not their fault.
No.
It's the fault of all the systems we're trapped in that show us perfectionism and super produced content. Or yeah, so it's a
It's
trap. It's
it's
another trap.
it is. I think that really that story. I know I feel it. I deeply resonate with that. But I think it really illustrates it's the illusion that perfection is. And unfortunately, I think for many entrepreneurs, and especially I will say, I think for a lot of women in our demographic, women who are in their late 40s, 50s, and up, who we carry so much uh, like just inherent wisdom, lived experience. We are authorities at what we do. We may or may not have credentials in it, but we've been living and breathing what we are here to teach for a very long time. But we unfortunately exist in a structure and in a system that is based on, you know, the old paradigm of credentialing, of you're only perceived as an expert if you have like a litany of letters after your name. Um, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying, I want to preface this with, I'm not saying that that's not, I have letters after my name. I don't lead with, oh, this is my educational background. But in many cases, that's really important. If I'm going to a cardiologist, yes, I want someone who knows what the hell he's doing or she's doing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this expectation of that the wisdom and the knowledge that we carry within us is somehow not enough because the package that it's being offered to the world in somehow falls short by some standard that has been set by a paradigm designed to keep us from our power. So, perfection and this idea of perfection is really just another tool of disempowerment for women. And I think one of the most glaring ways that we see it goes back to what you have done professionally and your work in being a stylist, your work in many years in the retail sector, and in your work of reaching out to women to find empowerment through their self expression, through their clothing, through their style, through their personal branding. And we see where the kind of the influencer cage still trips women up. It's like, I don't look the right way. You've shared with me, the struggles women have when they come in and they're looking for something for a special occasion, and the criticism of self, of this doesn't look right, my arm's too fat, my butt's too big, my neck has too much of a turkey look.
Yeah, I mean, I see it almost every day when I work in a part-time capacity with a boutique situation and I see it there. Um, Many times the woman comes in with the very perfect idea in her head, because we only service women, female facing, that she's seen on some influencer or TikTok or Instagram, and she wants that look or that outfit. But that isn't right for her, even though she likes it. It's, it's built around this very constructed imagery that is probably photoshopped as well. And then they come in, and I have perfectly good things that give that vibe, that would give the essence of that post or that picture. And we can make it work for them. But because it's not arriving in the same exact perfected photo, or whatever, wherever they
Yeah,
saw it, and because it doesn't translate exactly on their body type, that's it. And they can't pivot. They can't make a decision based on reality, if you will, and being kinder and gentler to themselves and not chasing
exactly.
this perfect look they've seen that's all produced in Photoshop, that's not even real,
Yeah,
is I guess what I'm
it's
saying. So we're
exactly.
chasing something that's not real.
And when we can't achieve the thing that we're chasing that's not real, instead of looking at that thing that's not real and saying, oh, well, that's not real anyway, the tendency, and I've been guilty of it myself many times in my life, the tendency is to turn inward and say, I'm the problem. The imperfection is within me because there's something wrong with me that I can't achieve a look that's not even right for me to begin with. And that, I think, really is where a lot of the disempowerment comes to women in the especially around fashion. I mean, I'll freely admit I've 1,000% reached I am the embodied essence of the unbothered crone in my fashion sense. I literally, since I have moved here, I have like 3 dresses I wear. I have, I very rarely wear makeup, very rarely have, I have a lot of beautiful crystals and jewelry and things that I hardly ever wear because you know what? It's too hot and it's not practical. And I'm sweating and it's just not a good look. But I had to give up that idea of how I need to look before I go out of the house to face the reality of the environment I'm in and go, yeah, I'm not going to achieve that. Because these days it's more like Pigpen. I look good in the house and I step outside where it's 1,005 degrees and I'm like, oh, I don't look so good anymore because I'm awash with sweat. So it's kind of it's part of that, this expectation we put on ourselves to have whatever it is, the look, the right, the right accoutrement, the right, the all of these cages that we build around ourselves for some kind of validation and for some kind of um, the word that's coming through is approval. Like we're
Mm.
looking outside of ourselves for some kind of an approval that we still, with all we know and all the work that we've done, because let's face it, you get to our age, you've done the work. We're all out here doing our work. We've got the self-awareness. It's because these things are so pervasive. It's part of that system that is so pervasive that even, I mean, I have been, I've been doing the work since the 80s. So I'm no stranger to it. I'm probably as, credentialed as you can get around, uh, the evolution of consciousness and the human psyche. But I still fall down. I still get caught in those traps.
You
Um,
know what's interesting, Kristen? I don't want to be divisive because we need unity now, not divisiveness, but I have to call this out. Cisgender white men don't experience this. They don't wake up in the morning and go,
yes.
I can't show up at the meeting until I look right. I've got to do 10 different beauty steps. Like the average white man, the average cisgender normative, they're not going around having these crises of perfection.
Yeah.
And even as entrepreneurs or business people, they don't ever have a failure to launch problem. Um, if it's not perfect, if it's not ready, in their mind it is, because they have the society has fed them a different level of confidence. They don't normally have imposter syndrome. I mean, I'm sure there are some that
Yeah.
struggle and they struggle with other things. So I don't want to say all men are bad, all men are
You know.
think they're perfect. But I think for the most part, they don't have a project that doesn't launch because of these internal
Right.
machinations. They tend to fail upward. Mediocrity is okay for them a
Mhm.
lot of times. And
So
if
true.
you break down on the side of the road and you call AAA and they tow it to your man or woman, um, body shop, whatever, service shop, you don't stand there and say to the guy, oh my God, your price per hour doesn't seem, can you do better on that for me? No, you need your car. This is the price that the shop charges.
Yeah.
How many times do we as women negotiate our fees among ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that there's value there, but we're like, well, I can't afford it, or
Or
are you
people
going
are
to be able
saying
to deliver exactly what you say your process will deliver?
exactly. Or from the other side of that, as someone, making the offering, we look at it and go, yeah, to deliver this reading, and I'm going to use my own business as one of it, to deliver this reading is probably about 10 hours of work. So I come up with a price point for it and then look at that and go, yeah, but I don't know if anyone will buy it at that price point. Maybe I should drop it down. Maybe I should, you know, run a promo. Maybe I should. And this litany of questioning that you're right. A guy would be like, yeah, 10 hours of work. Yeah, I'm going to charge $500 for that. No, no brainer, no question, and no compromise on that. No making exceptions or saying, uh, you know, um, it's the word I'm looking for, no accommodating. And the point you make is really, really powerful because it goes back to that conditioning. For if when boys have ideas and they try to do something and they just storm ahead with it and throw it out there and it may or may not be the best idea ever. Oh, that's great, you're fearless, you, how brave of you. When a woman does the same thing, it's like, you really should have thought that through better. And I think that I want to say I think that that is changing in our society, especially with younger generations, but specifically for people of our generation. That was the programming we were brought up with. If
And it's
if
weaponized against us.
exactly because
Like, I don't think the way society is structured has necessarily, said we're going to doom a whole half of the population, but just generations and generations of this
yeah,
has actually like worked against us.
yeah, yeah,
The
and
perfectionism that's put upon, I think, female facing women, particularly, not just around how we look and how we present and how our wardrobe and style is, but just like everything we present to the world in the form of any kind of idea or entrepreneurial venture, or it's got to be bulletproof.
yeah,
I mean, again, we don't want to get too political, but was not Kamala Harris or any female running for office held to this much higher standard than the men that may have been running against them?
100%.
Mm.
I mean, and politics aside, positions aside, just if you look at the credentials, how much more credential does a person have to be? How does having being an attorney, being attorney general of a state, uh, being a senator, being the secretary of state, how do these things leave you less qualified? Like it's
Well, and it's a bigger
it's
pattern,
it's
which you
that
pointed out as we were
yeah,
prepping for this. It's like perfectionism is a tool of disempowerment.
yes,
We're all so busy chasing this
it's
perfect, flawless offer or the perfect,
mhm,
flawless look or the perfect, flawless, God forbid, family. There's a lot of people that within their family structure, my kid has to go to the best school, my kids
oh
have to be perfect.
gosh, so
So
much
it
pressure.
prevails across everything. Um,
Yeah.
in ways that I'm sure there are many young girls that looked at again, regardless of your political background, looked at a Kamala Harris and were feeling like I can do anything when I grow up.
Yeah,
But then when they saw how she was treated, somewhere in that psyche, that I can do anything when I grow up got balanced with, yeah, but I better check myself
right.
because
Because
look how they checked
if
her.
my laugh isn't perfect, I'll be criticized. I'll be ridiculed. I'll be demeaned and diminished because the sound of my voice. She's too shrill. She's too loud. Her laugh is funny. Whatever the nonsense is that is meaningless when stacked
Mm-hmm.
up against the credential, but you do not hear that same kind of standard being held. In this example, and in most situations for men, it's a very different. Those old two sets of rules are still at play, but it's also that this standard. My observation of it is that and we were talking about this earlier. It's like the credit score, where what used to be an excellent credit score is now only fair because somewhere along the line, someone changed the range for their own benefit and for their own, profit. So it's like you've worked hard and you've done all the things and you think you're at that point now. Okay, great. I've got the 750 credit score. That's excellent. And then it's like, oh no, that's not excellent anymore. That's only fair. Or whatever the parameter is. It's like when the goalpost is always moving, that's not
Mm.
motivational. That's disempowerment. That's by
Yeah.
design. And
And we can choose
mm,
to step away
yes,
from some of these perfectionism and the trap of it. But that takes bravery and courage and community. And so, not to sound like, well, but I invite you all who might be listening to participate in this conversation. I mean,
yes,
drop us a comment on this post in Substack and let us know what your
yes.
thoughts are. Even if you disagree with us, put
Oh,
it out there. If you're really
especially.
shy, yeah, if you disagree. If you're really shy about public commenting, which I understand, or you feel unsafe in that, you can direct message one or both of us, and your feedback will remain anonymous. But we want people to start interacting with us around what we're saying and how we're coming at you with a topic every week. So, get in there. I know we want to wind it up right now because we're being mindful of time for you all. We're getting up into an hour of chitty chatty. So we have to invite and encourage people. Your comments do not have to be perfect to
Not
be
at all.
left.
Not at all. And I would echo that. We really, one of our intentions behind this podcast is to further create community. And we started it because we were like, other people must be feeling some of these things. They must be thinking some of these things. We can't be the only two women talking about this stuff. So we want to have a broader conversation. So please comment, share. You
Yeah,
like
where
it?
does this
Tell
land
us.
with you?
You hate it?
Where,
Tell
if it,
us.
yeah, exactly.
Like we want to know
Um,
because
because
we're
in all of
unbothered.
our in
If
all
you,
of our unbotheredness and our pushing back against imperfection, we are not um, we don't want to be alone in this. We want to create community, and we want to hear about how people are feeling on this topic, or others you want us to cover. Throw a
and
topic out there if you want it,
yeah,
discussed.
and Lisa, in the interest of, I know we're trying to wrap up, but um, part of wanting to create community, and one of what I personally have found to be one of the traps of perfectionism, is that the fear of being imperfect, it's like my gateway drug to isolation. And
Mm,
in this day, in
mm,
this time and space where we are in this planet, the last thing we need is to be isolated. Um, to
hmm.
be connected and to be showing up as ourselves, showing up in our perfect imperfection. We are. I always. This is one of the go-to tenets of both my spiritual practice personally and in my work as a spiritual teacher, is that we are divine beings having a human experience. And our humanity is how we learn, it's how we grow, it's how we evolve. And it is our humanity which is clearly imperfect. So the more we embrace it and embody it, the more we evolve and the more we can
Hmm.
be present and loving to one another. And that, at the end of the day, is my goal.
Yes. And Kristen, I want to shout out and acknowledge Kristen because during pandemic, um, Kristen formed up this small group of women, and we were going to meet on Zoom during those early times when we were told to shelter in place. And then that grew to meeting at various people's sort of porches or yards where we could do the 5 feet and still have the connection. And then, we came out of pandemic, and we tried to set up like a chat to keep it all going. Most of us lived local, so we did see each other now that life was back to normal. So this genesis of this podcast sort of came out of that, creating that community back during COVID to just, really head on deal with the isolation of that. And so that's a 6 year trajectory. So when we build community, it doesn't always start with this huge audience. We were 5 women that were all friends of Kristen's, and some of us knew each other and some of us didn't. And that was the the little pod, if you will. We used to call it pods back in the day, remember?
Yeah.
And many activities over the 6 years have led to where we are today. This didn't just like sprout up out of nowhere. And we realized the community needs to grow beyond 5 women. We really need to talk to more people. The more we talk, the more we understand our similarities and our differences. And maybe as a community, women can uprise against perfectionism.
Yeah. And
Yes.
thank you for bringing that up, Lisa. I mean, I started that selfishly. I was a single lady living alone in lockdown. So my mental health depended on having ways to connect with other people. And I knew that one of the women in the group was also in a similar living situation. So that was my impetus, was like, okay, well, oh, and then there's, these other people. Okay, yeah, like, cool, we'll get together. But I think there was an intentionality about it, that we can't just take connection for granted. And I think I live that every day because I moved 5,000 miles away from my community, my family, the life that I knew. And I'm very fortunate that I live in a place where I've been able to connect and create community here in real life with other expats who live here in Luxor,
Mm-hmm.
and with my amazing Egyptian family that has kind of adopted me and make sure that, you know, make sure I'm not melting completely in the
And
heat.
you get fed, make sure
And
you
that
have
I get
food.
fed, very important. But it's the intentionality of the conversations. It was the intentionality of our conversations that really birthed this. And I think you used to, in your styling work, you would curate, was the word you used to, you would curate a closet or a brand identity or a personal
Mm-hmm.
brand. I curate community. It's what I do with Infinite Wisdom Collective. It's what we're doing here with the Unbothered Crones. So, by all means, if you have something to say, we want to hear it. Um, Otherwise,
And
it's
then
just another echo chamber.
if you're not ready to speak, but you want to
Yeah,
share the podcast with other people you think might benefit from hearing what we have to say, share it out. Like, okay, you're not ready to speak, you're not ready to contribute in that way, share it out and let's keep growing the audience so
yeah.
more people benefit.
Let's keep growing the unbothered space because we need it. So, all right. Well,
Well, I have a feeling we will talk about some of these things in future episodes, like
that's
entrepreneurship, and definitely, the exhausting theater of appearing. I love
ah,
this quote that she said, to have it all together for the people who love you most. That was like
yes,
a really powerful, sentence that came up when we were doing our work to
yeah,
prepare for today. And it was like, oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That
Hmm.
that may be a great segue into next week's episode. We don't know yet what that will be, but I think it is absolutely a topic worth exploring. Is how we're still building our own cages and how we can stop doing that effectively.
Mm, I like that.
So,
And on that note,
right.
I guess we wrap episode 2.
Yes, I would say peace out from outside of the cage. So, and thank you all for watching, for your comments, for subscribing. We so appreciate that you're here with us, and stay unbothered.